Before we even begin this hearing, let me set the scene for you, because this case is one of those moments where a routine courtroom session slowly turns into something far more revealing. It's Friday the 13th. The judge is clearly tired after a full day of hearings. The courthouse has already experienced power outages, and the courtroom atmosphere feels strangely chaotic. On top of that, the defense attorney, who is supposed to represent the defendant, has mysteriously disappeared from the building. Now, imagine this. From the defendant's perspective, you're sitting in jail, waiting for your case to be heard. The judge is ready. The courtroom is live. But the one person responsible for defending you is nowhere to be found. This might sound like a small administrative issue, but in the legal world, timing matters. Procedure matters. And when someone is missing in the middle of a court proceeding, it raises a big question. Is this just a simple mistake, or the beginning of a much bigger courtroom mess? Stick with me, because once the defendant finally appears and the judge starts reviewing the charges, things get a lot more complicated.
All right, we're back. This is, I believe, the last hearing of the day and the last hearing of the month. It is Friday the 13th. Windy. I guess that's bad luck for everybody. We have succumbed to a couple power outages, brief ones that shut the computers off, but I think we're going to make it through the end of the afternoon. We've got our defendant in the conference room at the jail. We're waiting for our public defender. It's going to be Mr. Truckee. So good morning to Scotland, I think, or maybe good afternoon, good morning to California and Oregon.
Right away, you can feel the judge's frustration building here. The public defender was specifically asked to handle these arraignments, yet somehow he completed the earlier hearings and then simply left the building. From a legal standpoint, this creates a real procedural problem. Asterisk, every defendant has the constitutional right to legal representation, especially during critical stages like arraignment. Without a defense attorney present, the judge cannot properly proceed with the case, so now the courtroom is stuck in an awkward situation. The judge is ready. The defendant is waiting in jail. The live stream is running, but the lawyer who is supposed to defend the accused is completely missing. And that leads to an important question for viewers. Have you ever seen a courtroom situation where the defense attorney simply forgets about the case and leaves? Because that is exactly what appears to be happening here.
All right, we're back. This is, I believe, the last hearing of the day and the last hearing of the month. It is Friday the 13th. Windy. I guess that's bad luck for everybody. We have succumbed to a couple power outages, brief ones that shut the computers off, but I think we're going to make it through the end of the afternoon. We've got our defendant in the conference room at the jail. We're waiting for our public defender. It's going to be Mr. Truckee. So good morning to Scotland, I think, or maybe good afternoon, good morning to California and Oregon. I will take my nameplate off the front of the bench here within the next couple of weeks. I don't think I'll screw it to the bench upstairs. That's a historical refurbished bench. Maybe I'll put up the duct tape. And I guess I get to take it with me. Yes, as of today, March 13th, Mr. Timothy George is the only candidate to apply and file to run for this seat. The deadline for filing, I believe, is April 24th. Yes, and that one also isn't all it's cracked up to be.
Ross left. I just tried calling his cell phone and I got his voicemail and I texted Keith, who was at a conference, and asked him if he was covering or if Ross was.
I told Ross, I said, I'm here, I'm waiting. As soon as you're done with Autumn, I'll be ready to do that arraignment.
Not unless he's upstairs doing something with circuit, but I asked Joe up front.
Well, there is no circuit. There's nothing
They
upstairs.
said that they left, or he left, so I'm not sure if he was just going to log in from somewhere else, but I'll
Well,
try calling him again.
all right, thank you. Best laid plans. Yeah, he came in here. I said I had a bench warrant. As soon as he was done with you, we would do ours, then he wouldn't have to wait until 2:30. Well, it is 2:30.
I'll try him again.
All right, thank you. Best laid plans. Our public defender, Mr. Stickley, is at a conference. So he had made arrangements to have Mr. Ross Truck.
Listen carefully to what the judge just said there. The defendant is currently sitting in jail over traffic-related charges. That might surprise some people watching. But here's the key legal detail. It is rarely the traffic violation itself that leads to jail time. It's usually what happens afterward. Missing court dates, ignoring fines, failing to resolve previous tickets. When those things stack up, courts can issue bench warrants. Once that happens, the next time law enforcement encounters you, you can be arrested even if the original issue was something relatively minor. So, what we're seeing here may actually be the result of a long chain of unresolved legal issues, and the judge knows. The real question is whether this defendant simply made mistakes, or whether he repeatedly ignored opportunities to fix the situation.
He covered the arraignments, and he did the bench or the jail arraignments with the magistrate, but he forgot that I talked to him about an hour ago and left. Greetings to you in West Bloomfield. Sorry for what happened to the temple there. That's like a Telegraph and 14 Mile. Michigan State plays UCLA, I think. I'm not sure what that is. Well, this is disappointing. And now that the circuit court is no longer in our building, and the probate court is no longer in our building, the lawyers often have to be in Three Rivers. And so we don't have anybody here this afternoon. This building is about to become a construction zone. And I don't know what's going on. Oh, Judge Kane had to go to Calhoun County assignment. So I don't know if there's even anybody over there. So So I'm going to sit here for just a moment.
This is actually an interesting procedural moment that most people outside the legal world don't notice. The courtroom staff placed someone into a breakout room because they believed the case might eventually be appealed. That might seem like a small detail, but it's actually a sign that the court is already thinking about the legal record. In appellate courts, every decision can be scrutinized later. Judges and staff often take steps to ensure the process is clean and properly documented. Why? Because if something is handled incorrectly, the entire case could potentially be challenged on appeal. So even during what looks like a casual conversation between court staff, there is a lot of legal awareness happening behind the scenes.
In the meantime, this poor schmuck's sitting in jail on some traffic tickets. I'm not sure whether Trent Richmond is a real person or a bot, but I put him in timeout. That was in November. The gales of November come early. All right, this is not very fruitful. Yeah, I understand it's great in Florida. Well, I got to figure out what to do with this guy because I can't just leave him there. My friend in Rochester tells me Minnesota's going to get 20 inches of snow. I think maybe she found him.
He got all worked up about Stemple and he said, I am so sorry. I turned around. I'm in Ottawa. I'll be there in a couple minutes. He's on his way back.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So you got them all.
Notice how the judge handles the defendant here, even though the hearing hasn't started yet. He immediately acknowledges him and explains the delay. This might sound like basic courtesy, but it's actually part of good courtroom management. When someone is sitting in custody waiting for their hearing, judges often make sure they are informed about what's happening. Why? Because transparency matters in the justice system. Defendants need to know that their case hasn't been forgotten or ignored. But here's the bigger point. While the judge is being patient here, the real issue is still unresolved. The defense attorney still hasn't arrived, and until he does, the case cannot officially move forward.
All spun up, and then he.
I didn't. I had to see Thomas Stemple, and I put him in a breakout room because Keith said, you may want to put him in a breakout room just because this is probably going to get appealed. I'm like, okay, that's fine. So I did. They were in there for at least 10 to 15 minutes.
All right.
So when he came back in, I think he said, it's my fault. I totally spaced it. I got all worked up. I said, it's fine. I'll tell Judge you're on your way. So,
all right. We're just sitting here in the Group W bench.
okay.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. We'll let this run for a minute. Ross has turned around. He's speeding back to Centerville. I'll just let the guy sit for a minute.
And finally, the missing public defender arrives. But look at the explanation. He literally says, "The wind blew him right out the door." Whether that comment was meant as humor or frustration, the important point is that the courtroom can finally proceed. Delays like this might seem minor, but they actually matter a lot in the legal system. Every delay increases the amount of time a defendant sits in custody waiting for their hearing. And remember, this man hasn't even had his case addressed yet. So now that the defense attorney has returned, the judge can finally move to the most important part of the hearing, the charges.
Good afternoon, Mr. Higgins. We're waiting for the public defender to join us. He left the building inadvertently, so you just wait a minute. As soon as he gets back here, we'll address your case. You can go ahead and have a seat. I don't know, let it run this long, but I don't want to shut it off and start it all over. Well, good. Michigan is awfully tough. These chairs, I'm not sure what to actually call that color, are 50 years old. They're all very durable. They're actually comfortable enough to sit in. They certainly are dated. There must be 50 or more of them around the courthouse. 6. Baron, hurry up and wait while we wait for Ross to come back. One of the shut-ins in South Bend had a 74 Torino, was brown. My belief is they're going to replace all of this. They're probably gonna, I'm sure they're gonna tear this ceiling out. I think all this paneling is coming down. I don't know if they're gonna try, I suspect they're probably not gonna try to save it. They're just gonna peel it off and throw it away. The wall behind me are just pine strips that have been stained to match everything else. As I mentioned, this bench, I believe, does have bulletproof glass in it. But it's all going. Hmm. 74 Chevelle could be cool depending what was in it. Probably a 350. Yeah, I guess there probably would have some salvage value to this stuff. The doors here in this building are not hollow core doors. They're solid wood doors. Seems like somebody could have some use for those. The benches, I understand people are interested perhaps in the benches. I don't think they intend to reuse them. The new courthouse in Three Rivers doesn't look like a courthouse. It looks like a medical building. And we're I'm not sure what aesthetic they're gonna go for here. Trying to think of the answer to that question. Probably a 67 Pontiac Grand Prix. Something like that. The Buick version of that, which I think was a Le Mans. They have something in Detroit in the summer called the Woodward Dream Cruise. And the cars are divided into different divisions and they're parked in different areas. And I saw some really mint late 60s General Motors, Buick, Pontiac, Oldsmobile. I haven't seen the janitor yet. He stops in to see me about once a week. Just a check-in. All right, I'm sorry, this is very dull, but it's easier for me to just stay here. I got the guy at the jail. I'm here. Hope Ross doesn't get a speeding ticket between there and here. 59 Plymouth Fury. Three on the tree.
Sorry, Judge.
All right, here's Mr. Truckee.
Ran out after finishing an autumn.
He ran out of.
Now we start to see the full picture of what this defendant is dealing with. The judge outlines 3 separate charges: driving with a suspended license, no insurance, and improper display of a registration plate. All 3 are technically misdemeanors, and each one can carry significant penalties, including possible jail time and fines. But the bigger problem isn't just the charges themselves, it's the history behind them. According to the judge, the defendant had already been given opportunities before. Previous charges had been reduced. Fines had been issued instead of harsher penalties, and yet those fines were never paid. This is where courts often lose patience. Judges are generally willing to give second chances. But when someone repeatedly ignores those chances, the consequences can escalate quickly.
Steam.
Friday
He's
after
back.
the wind blew me right out the door.
Thank you all for posting a hello. We're able to.
The handle on my live stream commemorative coffee mug has a crack in it, and it's about to do a Knopf singer,
Which is what?
where it just falls apart in your hand. Do you recall that? Yeah.
Well, I think I may have a spare. I know John Bush was using his every day. Others were as well. Go ahead, Mr. Higgins, and have a seat. Thank you. I'm sorry for the delay, but we have here with us by special guest appearance, Mr. Ross Truckee from the Public Defender's Office. And you're Stephen Daniel Higgins?
That is correct, Senior.
Yes, of course, I know you, but I needed to identify you for the record.
Right.
Your son got arrested the other day, and I thought it was you, and I thought we were gonna deal with these old matters, but
No,
it was him on, I think, on a non-support case or something.
that is correct.
All right, let's talk about your case. This is file
Okay.
251670 ST. You got stopped in August. You got charged with driving suspended as a second offense. That's a misdemeanor. It's punishable by up to a year in jail and a fine of up to $1,000. You also got charged with no insurance under the insurance code, which is a misdemeanor, punishable by up to a year in jail, fine of up to $500 and
This part of the defendant's explanation is actually quite interesting. He claims he was pulled over in the parking lot of the Secretary of State's office while trying to fix the exact issues he was being cited for. If that's accurate, it creates a strange situation. On one hand, he was technically driving without plates, which is a violation. On the other hand, he says he was actively trying to resolve the problem by registering the vehicle, and the officer apparently recognized that, because instead of issuing new charges, he simply brought the defendant to the court to deal with the outstanding warrant. So, the big question becomes this: was the defendant genuinely trying to fix his situation, or did he wait until the last possible moment?
not less than $200. The third count is improper display of a registration plate. You pled not guilty, and we set it for a pretrial. Then you never showed up for the pretrial. Then we had a show cause. You didn't show up for that.
I never got notice of that. I'm sorry.
Well, the
would come up.
pretrial you did. They gave you a notice right in the courtroom. Let's see when the show
Yeah.
cause was.
Okay, well, I went in front of Judge Addison. I'm sorry.
Yes.
And I talked to the lady in the conference room, and she said to show my license to her, and I did, and to show proof of insurance. I told her I had to bring that back to the court. And when I did, she was not present, and I showed the information to the prosecuting attorney's office, and I thought that was good, and apparently that wasn't good. So I did what the lady told me, but I guess I didn't do what, I don't know what went wrong there. But I did provide the court with the information they requested. And I
All
still do have my driver's license. I didn't know it was
All right,
suspended.
so you have your license back and you have insurance?
That is correct. On a
Well,
different vehicle.
you got $805 with unpaid fines and costs. You had
Mhm.
usually in the old days, they used to suspend your license for that. They wouldn't
Right.
give you your license if you had a bunch of unpaid tickets. But apparently you got it back. Now yeah, you
And
were
then
charged with no insurance and they dismissed it and let you plead to impeding traffic. And then you paid them back by not paying that ticket in 2024. Then you got another no insurance and then they let you plead to no proof of insurance and you didn't pay that.
Yes,
Then
I
you got
paid-
a driving suspended and they
Right.
reduced it to allowing another to violate the motor vehicle code and you didn't pay that. So that's not good. In the old days, they wouldn't have let you had your license. But so apparently you have a valid license and have insurance now.
That is correct, sir. And yesterday I did start paying on that fine at the Secretary of State's office when the Sturgis police officers got me and then brought me here.
So how did you get stopped yesterday?
I was driving to
This is where the personal side of the case starts to emerge. The judge references the defendant's family history, mentioning that his brother and parents have passed away. Suddenly, the courtroom conversation shifts from purely legal facts to something more human. Many defendants who appear in court are dealing with complicated life situations: financial struggles, family loss, unstable living conditions. None of that erases legal responsibility. But judges do sometimes consider these factors when deciding how strict to be, and here, you can almost hear the judge weighing those circumstances. Is this someone who is intentionally ignoring the law, or someone who simply fell behind and never managed to recover?
To the Secretary of State's office to continue paying on the fines, and I was pulled over absolutely in the parking lot of the Secretary of State's office as I was going back in there to get license and plates on the car I'm driving that I just now purchased.
Why did they pull you over? Did you not have proper plates on the car then?
I had 0 plates on the car, but I had a plate in the car that I was gonna have transferred. I just had bought it from in-town Sturgis. I mean, right then, I didn't even make it to the Secretary of State's office. And I didn't know at that time that I had a warrant for my arrest, or I would not even have drove.
Did you get some new tickets?
Nope, he did not. He was nice enough not to charge me. He's seen that I was in bad shape as it was.
In general.
He let me legally park it, and he brought me here.
Where do you live?
I live at 6690 West 490 North, Orland, Indiana, at Walden Woods Campground, at a property-owned campground year-round.
About one specific person.
And the mailing address I had on court file was 11210 Riverside Drive.
Yeah,
Wait,
we
they
still
didn't
have that. Is that a mailing address?
Should have been good, but apparently I didn't get the notices that were sent there. I don't understand.
Who lives there?
It's my best friend, Dick Wellington. I have no family.
This is a pivotal moment in the hearing. The judge openly admits that his original thought was to keep the defendant in jail until the situation could be sorted out. That would have been a completely legal option, given the missed court appearances and unpaid fines. But instead, the judge changes course. Why? Because the defendant claims he attempted to provide the required documents earlier, and that some kind of communication breakdown may have occurred inside the courthouse. In other words, the judge is giving him the benefit of the doubt, and that kind of decision can dramatically change the outcome of a case.
Only left for a forwarding address, so that's where I have my the address that I've been using for mail.
Yeah, your brother passed a number of years ago, and your dad passed, I think, last year.
And my mom 3 days after.
Yes. All right, I'm gonna let you out of jail. I'm gonna set a pretrial.
You're gonna let me out, sir?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you.
I'm gonna set a pretrial for next week, March.
And I think that's what you have to state the.
19.
Shoot. I go to get my dentures replaced on the 19th.
But on the 17th.
Sorry. Okay, thank you.
At 8:30 at the courthouse.
All right. Now, am I able to go get this car legal still now, or
Yes, that would help. Bring in proof that the car is legal. That gives you only 1 day. Excuse me a minute. My original thought.
Now the judge gets very direct with the defendant, and this is one of those moments where courtroom honesty becomes unavoidable. He basically lays out the entire pattern. You got a break, then you ignored it. You got another break, then you ignored that too. In the justice system, repeated chances are not unlimited. Judges remember patterns. They see the same defendants multiple times, and eventually patience runs out. But here the judge is making something very clear. This hearing is essentially the defendant's opportunity to prove that things will be different this time. If he brings proof of insurance, proof of license, and proof of payments, the case could potentially be resolved. If not, the consequences could become much more serious.
Is that's going to leave you in the slammer till we could get this taken care of. But I believe you that you came in here and showed something to somebody. I don't know if who you were talking to was the public defender or one of the assistant prosecutors, but I want you to bring proof of insurance, and license
Okay, I have that today, actually.
and proof of payment on fines.
Okay. I can make just a payment. I don't have enough money to pay it all off, so I can make payment.
All right.
Now we reach a crucial legal decision. The judge sets a PR bond, also known as a personal recognizance bond. This means the defendant does not have to pay money to leave jail. Instead, he is released based on his promise to return to court. This is actually a significant act of trust by the judge. Considering the defendant previously missed court dates, the judge could have easily required a cash bond. Instead, he allows the defendant to walk free today with one condition: show up next week with the required documentation. And if he fails to do that, the situation could become much worse.
Well, you don't have to pay it all off, but you've been blowing it off, and each one of these was a break. You got a deal, then you blew it off. You got a deal, blew it off. You got arrested last summer on that child support case, but I think that's all done, isn't it?
That's my son.
Oh, that's your son's?
Yes. My
Okay.
kids. Yeah.
Well, I better take a look at this and make sure these fines are you, but I think they are.
Good.
Let's look, 5. Yeah, that's you.
Okay.
The non-support is not you.
Not me.
All right, now you're gonna be here next Tuesday morning, the 17th,
Yes, sir.
and you're gonna bring that documentation with you, and I don't see any reason why this matter can't be resolved.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm gonna set bond.
This moment shows the practical side of the justice system. The defendant asks the question that many people in custody ask first: how much will it cost to get out? And the judge responds with something surprising: nothing, because the PR bond requires no payment. That decision not only gets the defendant out of jail, it also sends a message. The court is giving him another chance to fix his legal issues responsibly. But the clock is now ticking.
At $250 PR each file. So your version is you came back in and tried to show the information to somebody at the prosecutor's office, and then nothing ever happened after that.
That is correct, sir. She told me to bring it back within 30 days, and I was actually, before that, I did it like 2 days after she told me that. And when I got there, she was not there, and another lady said she would pass on the information, and I thought she did. I wasn't aware she didn't.
All right, well, we'll see if we can sort that out. That's also part of why I'm giving you a PR bond. All right, you got 3 PR bonds, 250 per file. On this
Well, I
day,
can't-
back then, you were driving with no registration, no insurance, and your license was suspended. I'll
So
run a
how
new
much-
driving record and see what your status is.
Okay, how much is it gonna cost for me to get out today, sir?
Nothing. I gave you 3 PR bonds.
Okay,
Before ending the hearing, the judge emphasizes the timeline. Next Tuesday morning, 8:30 a.m. The defendant must return with proof of insurance, proof of license, and evidence that he has started paying his outstanding fines. This is essentially a final checkpoint. If the defendant follows through, the case could potentially be resolved without harsher penalties. But if he fails again, the court will almost certainly take a much stricter approach. So now the real question is left hanging. Will he show up next week and finally resolve the situation? Or will this case circle right back into the courtroom system again?
thank you.
Do you have a way to get home?
I would probably call Uber or call, I gotta get the car where it's legally parked in Sturgis, but I'm just gonna, go from there.
All right.
I have a
let's-
licensed driver in the car.
Well, I would have seen you this morning, but I had a bunch of stuff and I would have seen you earlier, but we got a little sideways here this afternoon.
And just like that, the hearing comes to an end. What started as a simple traffic case turned into a revealing look at how the justice system handles repeated violations, missed court appearances, and financial obligations. The judge had every legal option to keep the defendant in custody, especially considering the history of unpaid fines and previous chances that were ignored. But instead, he chose a different path. He offered one more opportunity: a personal recognizance bond, a court date next week, and a clear instruction. Bring proof that you're fixing the problem. Now it's up to the defendant to decide what happens next. Will he follow through and finally resolve the case, or will this become yet another missed opportunity? What do you think the judge should have done in this situation?
So
I
you're gonna
appreciate
get
that.
out 3 PR bonds. It might, SOS might be closed before you can get back over there.
Yeah.
All right, anyway, next Tuesday morning, here at the courthouse, 8:30 AM.
Yes,
You're
sir.
good to go, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so there's more going on there. I'll sort it all out. Tuesday's a busy morning, but I don't want to miss adventures. All right, we will stop the live stream.